And I tell you to break clean, watch yourself at all times, shake hands now, may the best man win. Good luck to both of you.
Round one, that was the bell. Speed called by very expert, the uncrowned heavyweight champion.
Welcome into another episode of That Boxing Podcast. You've got the two greatest podcast boxing knowledgeable oracles in the building. Well, one of us is in a car, but I'm Dustin. I'm here with Coach.
Hey, I'm doing what I got to do. I'm here. I'm in the car, but I'm not that far. I'm right here on the pod with the best guy in the business.
I was just eating seafood in Salt Lake City, Utah, and people were saying, "Oh, you're used to some landlocked seafood. You live in Portland." And I said, "Not so fast.
Not so fast.
We've got the mountains, the snow, and the beach. We have it all."
That's right, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm parked in my car at the beach house. I'm maybe 50 feet from the water here in the ocean roar.
That's
I
right.
came out here to do a little shadow boxing on the beach. Okay, I came out here for some training.
I see you on Instagram. You look like an elder Rocky.
Yes. Wait. What kind of Rocky?
Like a more
old.
slender Rocky that maybe has some prostate problems, you know?
I've really got, I'm just trying to assert my dominance in front of the beach house here. So people don't try to come up my stairs, because we got
That's
those
important.
stairs that go right to the water, And I said, the stairwell leads to, pain and punishment. If you want to come up here, when they see me shadow boxing down there, they're all like, wow, look how great this guy is. He's probably the coolest looking guy I've ever seen. He's got these purple pants on and blowing in the wind. I don't know. It's pretty unstoppable vibes. So
I'm sure that's exactly what they think when they see you. They don't think, who's that crazy homeless man that's having a fentanyl overdose?
Wow, his seizure looks an awful lot like a boxing maneuver.
Yeah, he's got a quality seizure. That's our state. That's our state animal.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of fucking animals out here on the coast. I'll tell you what, it's an interesting vacation, to come out here and get rained on and dodge the crackheads in town. But it's lovely. It's lovely.
I love the Oregon coast. Well, let's get into it, man. I want to get you back to the family, but let's run through the PBC fight card that went down on Prime last week, and then let's get into. We got two cards tonight, and we got to do some handicapping and some predictions and all the usual stuff.
Yes, sir. Let's talk about it.
So I got to start off by talking about the absolute robbery that was Elijah Garcia versus Terrell Goucher.
Wow.
Brutal fight to watch. We told you to lay the money on Goucher. He was a massive underdog. He absolutely dominated this dude, dropped him early in the fight. The rear hand was there for him all fight. He couldn't miss. He was en route to a clear decision victory, and somehow split decision goes to Garcia. Absolute abomination. I was the most mad I've ever been after any fight because this was about to be a huge come up, and I just think we called it perfectly, and the fix was in.
Yeah, it was definitely in. The scores were a little wacky. We had a 95-94, which, well, okay. And then we had a 94-95 the other way. Like, wow, okay. And then the 93-96 came down. And I said, well, I don't know what these guys are watching. A clean knockdown in round one set the tone for the fight. And young Elijah Garcia, he did a lot of effort. He put in a great effort. He kept swarming forward and swimming forward and throwing lots of punches. But was there effective aggression? Certainly not. The ring general was Terrell, and he definitely got robbed in that, man. And it's sad to see.
Yeah, I don't understand at a certain point what people are looking for, you know? Like Boucher had more offense, he landed more punches. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
he outlanded him, and the quality of his punches were dramatically different than Garcia's. Garcia was working the body. I agree. He was coming forward. He was not completely out of the fight, but man, every time Boucher landed, I flinched a little bit because he was just snapping his head back from every angle. It looked like he was going to stop him at several points in the fight. And again, we always talk about you don't score a fight, you score a round, and enough rounds equal a score of a fight. And watching that fight, I don't see how Garcia won more than 3 rounds. I was absolutely shocked.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough watch. The wrong guy getting his hand raised there. And the way this business goes, this one's not going to get a rematch. They're just going to keep rolling this undefeated kid on down the road. It's Garcia.
Yeah.
So
Terrible.
It's too bad.
Well,
It's too bad because Gaucher showed his experience. We always talk about the the valuable things a boxer possesses. And you might say a guy's older, but you can also say he's got more experience. Some of the top five pound for pound guys right now are all over 30. You know, two of them are in the late 30s. So this guy being in his late 30s doesn't mean he's a bum. It means he knows how to box. It means he's been around the game for a long time, and he showed it. He didn't take any substantial damage. He boxed smart. He was efficient with his punches. When he punched, he landed clean. He didn't waste a whole lot of energy. His defense looked solid. He never looked rumbled or tumbled. And he held up against a really active younger fighter, and that takes so much skill and endurance, and for him to get the victory taken from him in that situation is just heartbreaking. So yeah, I mean, I know you were pissed about that one because you picked it right on the money.
Yeah, that killed me. And Garcia, see where he goes after this, but if he doesn't learn how to move his head, I mean, Goucher is not known as being the biggest puncher, and he dropped him and battered him pretty terribly. But if he gets in there with anybody that can punch, his career is not going to go far. I mean, he was just there to be hit all night. It's something rarely you see someone get taking that many power shots, someone landing that many power punches per round and not stopping the guy.
Yeah, no doubt. And my bad. I did just say a second ago that this kid Garcia was undefeated. He was not going into this fight undefeated, and he carries on with his record of 17-1 now. He had one loss against Kyron Davis.
Well,
So
forever I will know that as 17-2.
yeah, that's the way it should be. Where's
Next fight up.
where's old Papa Haney here to fix this record? Let's
I
get
know.
this
Let's get
cleaned
this
up.
wiped out, man. Let's get we need some instant replay. We need. I don't. Boxing's got to figure this out, man. Because like I said, I was pissed. I was going to all the threads and talking shit on Instagram, and I mean, you're just every post just had 1,000 comments. Robbery, robbery, trash. Fix this, and it's like, man, if everybody's watching the fight and knows who won, there's nothing we can do. And I know you and I disagree on this, but I always say open scoring. You got to know how the judges are scoring it, because then he would have said, "Oh, okay, I guess I need to be a bit more active. I guess I need to do this, do that." You
No, I
know?
agree with you. It was our special guest star, Coach Brian Green, who didn't want that. I think it should be wide open, man, wide open.
Yeah.
I think it
I
should
mean,
certainly
do
be
it
open.
every other round or every round or at least twice in the fight. You know, fourth,
Yeah,
eighth, and then at the end.
that'd be sweet. But I mean, what are you gonna do? What about like 4 round fights, 6 round fights? How does that switch it?
I think they should just announce it at the end of every round. They should just digitize it. All the judges punch in their score. The computer tallies it, and then it just announces score, right? 10, 10, 9. Oh, okay. Like, this is what it is.
Imagine it's like a shitty score the crowd doesn't agree with. The crowd starts getting hostile. Ooh. The fighter's like,
Yeah.
"What the fuck?" And he's gonna go out there and fight his heart out. I think it would really change the complexion of the sport if it was like that.
And it could be another crazy thing for people to negotiate, like Floyd and the ring size, or no Grant gloves or whatever. Like, so, oh, we're going open scoring, but it's every other round, or it's every this, or it's every that. But
Yeah, that'd be well. We'll see, man. We'll see. We'll see what the turkey does with the TKO show.
true, true. They'll probably just
Yeah,
fix every fight.
yeah, between
Um,
him and Dana White. Yeah.
exactly. Well, next up after that, we had Guido Schramm, who's a late replacement, stepped in and did an admirable job facing Jesus Ramos. Made it to the seventh round, but Ramos gets the stoppage victory and continues on 23 wins, 19 stoppages. Not the most exciting fight to watch. Outcome felt a bit predetermined, but he gets the win.
Yeah, they went for it. That one certainly didn't have a distance fights, written on it, and it gave Ramos exactly what he needed. Another win, another tough opponent who's going to try to brawl with him, and he can outfight him. But Ramos will probably struggle again when he runs into another boxer like he did with Erickson Lubin. You put a Mexican brawler in front of him, and it's where he's built. That's what he's built for. You
Hmm.
got we're gonna see what he does with another boxer when he gets back in there again.
Yeah, and then in the main event, Sebastian Fundora, Chordell Booker, the fight that no one asked for, but everybody got. Uh, Fundora gets the stoppage in the fourth round, really outclassed him, outworked him. You know, he's a funny guy to watch fight because he's obviously doesn't use a lot of his attributes. Doesn't box from the outside as much, likes to get in there and mix it up, and he kind of doesn't look like he hits hard, but he obviously does. Booker had only been stopped one time previously, and it was in the first round, but Fundora made pretty much just as light work of him.
Yeah, man, that was a weird fight. I don't think Booker was ever really in it. You know, he never really got anything going. He was frustrated, complained to the ref a few times. Definitely got elbowed a couple times. The referee warned about the elbow right before the end of the fight. Because you know, it's just like it's just a physics problem with this guy, the way he boxes, and you know, Booker's trying to duck in and get close, and he's kind of dive bombing his head straight into those elbows, and it's like, you know, he's just built all kinds of wrong, man. How do you even train for a guy like that? What are you gonna do? Have somebody wear stilts in the gym?
Yeah, I
Crazy. It's
know.
crazy.
Just fighting at that low weight with that height. But like I said, I think he gives up the height advantage in every fight. I mean, he looks beatable, and the blueprint's obviously out there to beat him. He's been stopped before, but he's a tough dude, gotten up off the canvas, and I don't know where he goes. He could defend for a long time with these low level opponents, but he's obviously looking for the big fight, looking to get in there with Spence. I don't know if you take a Bohocek or an Ortiz, how that goes for him. You know?
Yeah, we waited a whole year for that. That's what I gotta say. We waited a whole year for that. Come on, man.
Yeah.
This isn't what we expect from our world champions, from our top level guys. Where was the Errol Spence fight? Where's you know where's the real 154-pound title contenders? No offense to Booker, but that wasn't the fight, man. That wasn't it. And it certainly
Hmm.
doesn't improve him in a way that's going to get him ready for those big guys when the time comes to see him.
Yeah, you've got the couple title holders at 154 that I don't know who you put him in there with. I'd kind of like to see him fight Madrimov potentially. Um, it feels like a step in the direction of fighting maybe an Ortiz. Um, who's the guy that Tim Tszyu fought? I think he's got the other 154 belt, right? And he's just going to be avoided forever.
Bochuk?
No,
Or
no,
no,
no. But Bohocek doesn't have the title. He lost to Ortiz. They're kind of in contention. But
Bakram, Murtazaliev.
Bakram murder everybody. I mean, he's
Yeah,
a
that's
guy that you get no points for fighting him because no one knows who he is, and you saw what he did to Zoo, and I think people stay away from him.
well, that's exactly what our golden boy, our fearless golden boy leader, um, De La Hoya said he was not going to move his fighter Ortiz into a fight with Bakram because he's had two tough fights back to back already, and he's like, that's just not how you move a boxer. You know, we don't just keep throwing him in there. So they're like, this is classic boxing management. You don't give the guy only tough fights. Ortiz had two tough fights in a row, and they're not going to put him in there with another third, like Eastern European murderer. So
Right.
it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him next. They're probably going to give him a little bit of a break, honestly. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of guy that should be grabbing that title off Fundora. But I think you're
Well,
right.
they
Madrimov could come snatch it up pretty dang easy too.
Yeah, potentially. But Fundora like kind of continues to surprise, and I don't know. They've ordered Fundora Zayas, so Xander Zayas to step in there and fight him, and he said he feels ready for a fight of that caliber. And I mean, I think that's a good fight, and that's a worthy defense. I do see Fundora getting the win in that, but I'd like to see it.
Zayas versus Fundora. Wow, that's a big move.
That's the
That's a
ordered
big
fight right
move.
now. That's his
I mean,
next mandatory defense.
I wouldn't say it was a big move if it weren't for the titles on the line. It just seems like hasn't quite shown title contender status. And but like we just said, it barely seems like this is a legitimately held title. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to stick around in either of their hands for more than a year or two.
That's how I would see it as well. Maybe it passes back and forth, and then someone loses to a top dog. But I don't know. I won't count Fundora out. Um, should we get into the fights this coming up tonight? Actually,
Yeah, let's take a look at it, man. Got some action coming.
so big fight going on in Cancun is a rematch between Tevin Farmer and William Zepeda. This was one of my favorite fights of last year. They come back to run it back quickly. A lot of people I see, wondering why this even got a rematch, but it was a very close fight with Tevin Farmer actually dropping Zepeda early in the fight. Came back and he won by the literal slimmest of margins, split decision, and on the third card he won by a single round. So I think this is worthy of coming back. I'm a bit surprised to see the line where it's at with Zepeda just an overwhelming favorite, 8-1 favorite to win the fight, given how close the first fight was. But he did have the hand injury, and maybe it's a hometown crowd. He's going to come out with a bit more energy. But Farmer's been on the tough end of a few decisions, and he's always shown himself to be a game opponent, always in shape and always sharp. And I wouldn't count him out as much as people are.
Yeah, I don't doubt you, man. We've learned not to doubt this kid Farmer. He showed out great in that fight. He was this close to turning it around and winning the thing. And he showed he's got the timing to get a big knockdown, because that was more of a timing punch than a power punch. He set his feet, he kind of planted himself in the ground, and he really turned that punch over nicely. He's shown a lot of great defensive skills in the past, and that's what I expected out of him. But he actually showed me more offensive skills in this last Zepeda fight. And beat the guy kind of at his own game. In my mind, I think he won the fight. So here he is, so going into enemy territory. The last fight was over in Riyadh, where like nobody's got a hometown advantage. But here, this guy's in Mexico, man. It's going to be crazy loud. It's going to be crazy emotional. Mexican boxing fans are the most, emotionally invested fans in the world. They're going to tear the roof off the place. So if he's going to win there, he's got to win so overwhelmingly clear that otherwise they're going to have to get this guy like a chopper out of the freaking arena to get him away from these people. They're not going to give him a close win.
No, they're
Certainly
not.
not.
Well, I'll tell you that I do see William Zepeda winning this fight, but a month ago, I already put my 100 down on Tevin Farmer straight up money line plus 525. I just think it's too disrespectful to not see a path to victory for him. And they give me a line like that. I'm going with the underdog. I'm going with the guy that I want to see boxing skills over, brutal 100 punches around. And I think he could get it done. But if you really put a gun to my head and I had to put my life on the line in my DraftKings, I would go with Zepeda. How do you see this rematch playing out?
Yeah, I mean, like I was just saying, it's going to be a real tough order to fill for Farmer to go in there and win cleanly. I mean, he's going to have to knock him down multiple times. He's going to have to make him quit, or he's going to have to knock him unconscious, because there's no way he's going to get a decision in this situation. Um, and the last fight was close. This fight could play out exactly the same, and he'll lose it again just because of that hometown advantage, just because of the sound of the crowd. You know how important the crowd is, man. It just came out this last weekend. There was this crazy, was it 2 weeks ago? This thing happened in the UK where there was a punch after the bell and resulted in DQ, and the guy was losing clearly, but then he ends up winning because the guy hit him after the bell. Well, they went back and they reviewed it, and the WBO reviewed it, and they said, yeah, the crowd noise clearly affected their ability to hear the 10-second bell. The referee didn't hear it, the fighters didn't hear it, and the fight continued. So
Mm,
in that situation, like the sanctioning body had to say, wow, we had a problem with crowd noise. We got to get a louder bell. We need to be able to communicate more. But a fight
right.
like this in Cancun with a Mexican fighter on if you look through the box rec event page, there's so many fights on this card. They're going to be going all day long. Mexico versus Mexico all night long. And there's going to be obviously some guys coming in from other regions and other parts of South America. But and this kid comes in from America,
From
and Tevin
Philly.
Farmer, and he's going to have to really do something special down there to win, because you got to win the fans over, you got to win the whole arena over. Otherwise, man, you're not getting out of there in one piece. You're going to be ripped up, ripped
Yep.
apart, ripped apart, man. So I hope he can do it, but he's going to have to do it big. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and God knows he hasn't had luck on his side in his career. Like I said, been on the tough end of some decisions, but a great fight. I think a worthy rematch, and just always great when you see oil and water try to mix in a boxing ring, where a come forward pressure Mexican style fighter that throws among the highest, if not the highest, punches per round versus someone that has to solve that problem, who isn't known for power, has to get his respect, and like you said, use timing and veteran savvy to try to neutralize the threat. That's why I like the first fight so much, and I expect to see that tonight. Even if the decision is more clear, or the fight outcome is more clear one way.
Right on, man.
Um,
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
it should be good.
Also
Domestically,
on that
mhm.
card, I wanted to shout out the little guys, Colazo, he coming off that impressive win over knockout CP Freshmart in November on that Latino night card.
Mm,
I'll remember that one because I was watching that. It was the night before I had my match last November, so I was up watching boxing, thinking about boxing nonstop. No, was it the same night? It was the same weekend, whatever it was. And that Colato, man, he punched hard, put on a hell of a performance for such a lightweight fighter. He's fighting a guy who's coming off a KO of a 5-0 fighter, so that should be an interesting co-main event. The little dude's throwing hard punches. And then was that the same card that Madeline Esparza's on with Yocasta Valle? I think that is the same card. Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
see.
That because she missed weight. Madeline Esparza, the former Olympian, missed weight, comes in a couple pounds heavy for this fight against Yokasta Valle for a title. I don't know if she'll be able to be taking that gold home if she's not going to make the weight on the scale. But Yokasta's been looking good since she lost to Estrada. But she's had two solid wins since then. And Esparza, she's trying to get her comeback streak going since she lost her titles to the gal who went on and lost to Fundora. So these lady boxers are kind of mixing it up here, putting on some shows and looking to make something happen. But I like this Yokasta Valle. I was impressed with her last two fights, so we'll see what she can do. And this
Hmm.
Esparza missing weight. It's no good, man. I don't know what that's all about, but you got to make the weight, man. The step one, make weight. Come on.
Step one.
So
Well, two people that did make weight in Las Vegas. We get another rematch. Michaela Mayer versus Sandy Ryan, um, headlining a pretty good top rank card. Obviously, they got a pretty bitter rivalry of traded barbs and traded cans of paint being thrown at them. If you remember
yeah,
that in the last fight,
flying, flying freaking paint, man. They never really sorted that out or settled that. Right? Like that was just some kind of publicity stunt or something, right? I don't know.
feels like every time there's a top rank fight, something weird happens. From when we get a box of bananas delivered, we get a can of
Right.
paint thrown. It's like, all right, who's running your marketing?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something about top rank shows. Maybe they need to have a new batch of media members coming in and taking a look at things and get some solid reporting on the ground. I mean, that's just a suggestion.
Hey,
Top rank.
I could see
Yeah,
that. We might have some big news to reveal on the next pod.
yeah. You never know.
You never
Keep your
know.
ears
But
open. You got to keep your ears open.
it's rematch season tonight. This is rematch number 2. How do you see this one going down? Does Mayer get the victory over Sandy Ryan again? As won a very close majority decision the last time they fought, which was just back in September. Does it go down the same way? How do you see it?
I think it'll go similar. I think these three could fight 10 times and come out 5-5, man. Just toss it up in the air, dude. This is a 50-50 fight if there ever was one. I kind of wanted Sandy Ryan to win last time. I just liked her style a little bit better in the moment. Um, but Mayer fought well off the back foot, turning and burning and sticking behind the jab and stuck to her game plan. Didn't really get caught up in the firefight that Sandy was looking for. If she can pull that off again, she might get the win. But if Ryan can trap her, cut the ring off better, and throw some more hooks to the body, she might be able to get in there and do some damage. She just got to get her to stop moving her feet so damn much. She's really got to take the ring away from her. And if she's able to accomplish that, she can probably get a win here. But I don't think it's going to be a wide win. It's going to be another close one.
I agree. I like you saying that because I took the Coach Josh special and I laid all my money down on the draw.
Ooh, draw. Yes,
The
sir. That's
draw
a good
there.
draw.
There's no
Pull your
value.
draws up. Get your draws on. Oh, man.
There's no value on either fighter in this fight. I mean, it's a 50-50 pick 'em, and there's no way to feel strongly one way or the other. I agree. If you had to really pick, Mayer probably keeps the belt, but I could just see the draw, and at plus 1,200, I thought, all right, let's swing for the fences. Why not?
Wow. Well, this will be a settling of some beef. Maybe, maybe not. If they do get a draw or the win goes the other way, we're definitely going to see the rubber match again. Probably not too long from now. There's not too many lady boxers at this elite level. They're all going to have to keep fighting each other. We might as well see them run it back again. Put on a trilogy for us. Hopefully they show up and show out and make us a great fight. You see what the co-main is on this one? The long-awaited return of Brian Norman Jr.
So Brian Norman Jr., kind of the unknown boxer until he jumps on the scene and gets the stoppage win over Giovanni Santillan, which was a big upset at the time. And then he hurts his hand, can't come back. I mean, that was back a little under a year ago.
Yeah, last
Um,
May.
last May, and he was trying to make a fight with Boots to kind of unify 147. That never materialized. They were some money off, but he finally comes back against a boxer who's been knocking people out in Panama City.
Yeah, he's got a 70% KO ratio, this guy, but he hasn't been in the ring since December of 23. So it sounds like a really long time ago until you realize Norman hasn't been in there since May of 24. So it's only a few months longer. But he's not coming. This would be the upset. This would be a big upset. I think Norman's supposed to do what he's supposed to do here. And this guy, if he was going to come try and knock Norman out, he's going to probably run into trouble, run into it real hard. So looking for an exciting uh, under 6 rounds of action there. I'd say take the under on this one.
You're taking Brian Norman by stoppage and the under?
Oh yeah, yes sir. I think he's
Nice.
really. I think he's about to start really shining. And hopefully his hand holds up, and he can show us what he's capable of. Because he kicked the door open with the Santian win. He just kicked it wide open and said, "Here I am." And then, well, he's just been standing there in the doorway for a while. It's time to step through, kid. Step through and show us what you can do.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see because he was not on a knockout streak. He had a 3-fight unanimous decision streak and a no contest before he knocked out Santian. But I agree with you. I'm betting the stoppage. I did not take the under because I'm not sure when it comes, but I like the anytime KO TKO for Brian Norman. And this other guy hasn't been in there with anybody, and he's a pressure fighter, and the knockout's going to be there for Norman. I'd like to see him make a statement, partially because of the hand, partially because being out for almost a year, and maybe the inactivity, won't play well into the punch resistance. Plus, the other guy's coming down a bit. I mean, he's fought recently at 150, but spent more of his career at 154. And I like the stoppage.
All right, man. We'll be definitely watching that with close eyes. And of course, we got Shushu coming on. He looks like he's getting kind of a soft touch. I'm not sure why they're moving him a little slower. He did struggle a couple times over the last years. Top Rank's got so many prospects, so many undefeated prospects. And they it's like they're battling to be the best amongst them. Their stable is so full of exciting and undefeated fighters, and this guy Bruce, he can really do something. They're not really throwing him in there with anybody notable yet. I think he's old enough and experienced enough. They got to put him in there with somebody, But this is what Top Rank does. They kind of slow cook guys, and then all of a sudden they turn the heat up, like we're going to see next weekend with Richard Torres Jr., who's just been slow cooked, and moved nicely, and kept busy, taking the right kind of fights to build a career. And then all of a sudden, the heat's on high, and he's in there with a guy who's, potentially could upset that. So we'll see what happens with Shushu. Hopefully, they give him that temperature a little bit, turn up a little bit in his next few fights, and give him a chance
Hmm.
to shine big shine. Because he's going to get outshined by a guy like Abdullah Mason or somebody like that, who's he's in the same, you know, crew, but he's just moving at a different pace.
Yeah, I really hate how they slow walk people. I wish that they would, give them some threes, then give them some fives, then give them some sevens if you're ranking people on scale. It really does feel like they have a hard time with that upper mid tier scale. They just kind of jump people up. And I think they're going to do that eventually to Shushu. And I don't know if it's like they watch him really struggle in that Sagawa fight where he gets the majority decision and they think, oh, maybe he's not as good as we thought he was. Let's slow walk it. But I always think that he's young. Like I always think it looks like he's 21, 20, but
He's
it's
like
like,
28, right?
yeah, he's
27,
27
28.
years old. It's like, come on, man,
Yeah,
what's the plan here?
got to get to work, kid. Yeah, the guy like Abdullah Mason, he's going to be turning 21 on fight night next week.
Yeah.
And he's already had 17 fights, and he'll be in title contention by the time he's 24 years old. So Shushu got to get to work for sure.
And then it's like you take a loss, you're taking a loss at 30 and you got to build back as opposed to taking a loss at 25. And, when you're young and still developing, I don't think they let them take the O's they don't let them take them too early in their career.
Yeah. Well, this is why this Turkey, the financier is enticing people away from this more traditional slow road because they take a risk, get a huge reward. You saw that with, Jared Anderson. And, reading an article interview with Bob Arum, he said they offered Kiki Torres a fight over there. He said over there, but we assume he's referring to Riyadh. And the rumor mill over on Press Row is that it was against Fabio Wardley. Now that's talk about turning the temperature up and taking a risk.
Yeah.
But Torres had, him and his team, they said no to that, and they said no, we're going to stay with Bob and we're going to keep doing what we're doing, which I think was the right choice to make, especially in
Well,
light of what we saw happen with young Jared Anderson.
exactly. It's like a sliding door moment. One person clearly made the right choice, and now they're going to headline a fight that's winnable. And if they win that fight, they'll headline the next fight that will also be winnable. And it's the stepwise approach to build up to that big risk and take it when you're really going to get paid. You
Yeah,
know?
that's a true career, right? A career path. This is a boxing career. It's not a lifetime career, and it's not supposed to just be a lottery where you just walk in, win the money, and walk out. You're supposed to put the work in to build yourself. And I think this kid Torres has definitely got the skills to do that. He's always shouting his hometown out. He's always kind of, the working class fighter, a man of the people, and that's going to serve him well. This is the kind of guy that can start a gym when he's 35 and retire, basically, with his
Yeah.
boxing money, and just hang out and help the kids out and stuff, and be a classic boxing like mentor individual. And when you run off and get the $20 million payday, and that just kind of shows where you're at with your long-term goals and your morals and whatnot. So hopefully, we'll see some kind of middle ground come out here with all the upset, you know, in the landscape of boxing and management and all these changes coming, and the never-ending changing landscape of boxing. Hopefully, things settle out where these fighters get paid right and get good careers and don't have to make these kind of choices where they're taking crazy paydays for crazy fights. Bullshit, Jake Paul nonsense. You brought this guy up last time. You said you had listened to him say he wanted to fight Anthony Joshua. And I was running out of podcasts to listen to, and I'll keep this brief, but uh, I saw one come up on my thing, and it was David Benavidez on the Jake Paul podcast. So I said, oh, that's interesting. I want to listen to what David's got to say. And man, I had to turn it off. They were talking over him. I forgot he was on there for literally like 5 or 6 minutes. It was him and his buddies just talking, and they were like having like an inner friend beef about who could punch harder and stuff. And then Benavidez's voice comes in like after a while. It's like, oh damn, he's been in the studio the whole time just listening to these guys just banter back and forth. This is embarrassing. And Jake Paul says ridiculous things and does really ridiculous things, but it's just weird the contrast of hearing him talking with David Benavidez, and they're trying to kind of find a common ground about fighting Canelo. And I'm like, this is not this. There's no common ground here, guys. Except
Right.
for the word Canelo.
Right.
You guys don't have much in common besides that.
Right.
But you had mentioned Davis was talking about taking that fight with this, and it's just so bizarre. I kind of want all that stuff to stop, and we can focus on what's really happening with the real sport of boxing, and not the freak show side of it, the circus event nonsense. So, got to
Well, you
give it
know
up for
what?
Top Rank. Top Rank keeping it simple, keeping it real, old school. Maybe it could be better, but at least it's not that.
I mean, it's real boxing, but you know what? Maybe Jake Paul shares your sentiment, and he also wants it to stop, and that's why he's calling out Anthony Joshua. Because I think that's a career-ending injury if that fight goes through.
Yeah, and of course Joshua said he would take it because that's enough
Get it
life
done.
changing. That's enough life changing money where people are willing to do that. Which is crazy. It's not any much different than Turkey. Where they're going to change your life with this amount of money, and you're willing to take a risk, or maybe gamble your pride.
Yeah.
And
Well, let's go,
so
Eddie Hearn. You tall fucking scarecrow. Make this fight happen. I'll gladly give you $50 to watch that public decapitation. They should do it in France. It'll be the last public beheading since the revolution.
Viva la revolution! Well,
Yeah,
I don't think that was French, but whatever. I tried.
that
All
was
right,
French.
man. Well, I got to get back to the family. I got to get back to the beach, man. I got to go do some more shadow boxing in the waves. The tide is
All right.
high, man. So
All right,
so are
you crackhead.
my pantalones. I got to roll them up and go shadow boxing the shore break. Okay.
Camo on camo. Coach has got to go. All right, guys. Fight night. Bet responsibly. Bet how we tell you, and make money. And we'll catch you next time. Until then, I'm Dust.
Coach, thanks for tuning into one of our world famous long distance remote podcasts. We'll be back in the studio next week, and we might be somewhere even more exciting before you know it.
Bum bum bum. Stay tuned.
That's boxing.
That's box.